What if I told you that every problem crushing your spirit right now, your financial struggles, your broken relationships, your crushing anxiety, could become the very doorway to your greatest breakthrough? What if the Buddhist monks discovered something 2,500 years ago that modern psychology is only beginning to understand? What if 13 minutes from now, you'll never look at suffering the same way again? Once upon a time, in the mist-shrouded mountains of ancient Tibet, there lived a young monk named Tenzin, whose life was about to teach him, and us, the most profound truth about human suffering. Tenzin had joined the monastery at age 12, fleeing a childhood marked by poverty and loss. He believed that within those sacred walls he would finally find peace. Yet after 7 years of meditation, chanting, and rigorous discipline, he felt more tormented than ever. His mind raced constantly, his heart ached with loneliness, his body rebelled against the harsh mountain cold and meager meals. One particularly brutal winter morning, as snow pounded the monastery walls and the wind howled like angry spirits, Tenzin's frustration reached its breaking point. He had been assigned to tend the prayer wheels in the courtyard, a task that required him to venture into the freezing storm every few hours. His hands were cracked and bleeding, his robes were soaked through, his stomach cramped with hunger. "This is not the peace I was promised," he muttered bitterly, struggling against the wind. 7 years of this torture, and I'm more miserable than when I lived on the streets." As he reached for the next prayer wheel, his numb fingers slipped, and he crashed face first into the snow. Lying there, tasting blood and feeling the ice seep through his robes, something inside him shattered. He began to sob, not the quiet, controlled tears of a disciplined monk, but the raw, desperate wailing of a broken child. His cries echoed across the courtyard, and soon he felt a gentle hand on his shoulder. He looked up to see Master Lobsang, the eldest monk in the monastery, whose face bore the deep lines of 8 decades of mountain winters. The master's eyes held no judgment, only infinite compassion. "Come, young one," Master Lobsang said softly. "I have a story to share." They made their way to the master's sparse quarters, where a small fire cast dancing shadows on the walls. As Tenzin warmed his frozen hands, Master Lobsang began to speak in his gravelly voice. "40 years ago, I too lay crying in that very courtyard. I had lost everything, my family to disease, my village to war, my faith to despair. I came here believing the monastery would erase my pain. Instead, it seemed to magnify every ache in my heart." Tenzin looked up, surprised. This serene master had once felt exactly as he did now. "That night," the master continued, "as I questioned everything I believed about this path, I had a dream that changed my understanding forever. I dreamed I was a piece of coal, black and worthless, buried deep in the earth. I spent my dream raging against the crushing weight above me, fighting the intense pressure surrounding me, cursing the darkness that engulfed me." Master Lobsang paused, stirring the fire with an iron poker, sending sparks spiraling upward like tiny prayers. But then, in my dream, a voice spoke to me, not from outside, but from the very pressure I was fighting. It said, "Little Cole, you think I am your enemy, but I am your becoming. You think this pressure is destroying you, but it is creating something precious beyond your imagination. Stop fighting me, and let me show you what you truly are." Tenzin leaned forward, captivated despite his misery. In that moment, I stopped resisting. I allowed the pressure to do its work, and slowly, magnificently, I began to transform. The crushing weight that had felt like torture became the very force that was crystallizing my carbon into something brilliant. Layer by layer, the pressure organized my scattered atoms into perfect geometric patterns. What felt like destruction was actually the most precise creation. The master's eyes gleamed in the firelight. When I awoke from that dream, I understood the first noble truth in a way I had never grasped before. The Buddha taught that life is suffering, but not because suffering is a mistake or punishment. Suffering is the pressure that transforms coal into diamonds. Tenzin felt something shift in his chest, like a door opening that he hadn't even known was closed. You see, Master Lobsang continued, we spend our lives trying to escape pressure, avoiding discomfort, running from pain. We think the goal is to eliminate suffering, but that's like coal trying to escape the very force that could make it precious. The monastery doesn't protect you from pressure. It teaches you how to use pressure consciously. Over the following weeks, Master Lobsang shared more of his wisdom with Tenzin. He explained that every great spiritual teacher throughout history had understood this secret. Jesus spoke of taking up your cross, not avoiding it. The Buddha taught that the path to enlightenment led directly through suffering, not around it. Muhammad faced 13 years of persecution that shaped him into a leader who would change the world. The difference, Master Lobsang explained during one of their evening conversations, is not whether you face pressure, but how you relate to it. The coal that fights the pressure remains coal forever. The coal that surrenders to the pressure becomes a diamond. He taught Tenzin to reframe every difficulty as a question. How is this pressure trying to transform me? What diamond is trying to emerge through this experience? When Tenzin's hands bled from the cold instead of cursing, he asked, how is this teaching me compassion for others who suffer? When his stomach cramped with hunger, instead of complaining, he wondered, how is this helping me understand the privilege of abundance? When his mind raced with anxiety instead of fighting it, he inquired, what is this restlessness trying to show me about attachment? The transformation was gradual but profound. The same external conditions remained: the harsh weather, the physical discomfort, the demanding schedule. But Tenzin's relationship to these challenges shifted completely. He began to see each difficulty as a master teacher in disguise. One day, as he tended the prayer wheels in yet another snowstorm, Tenzin realized something extraordinary had happened. The wind still bit his face, his hands still ached from the cold. But there was a quality of aliveness, of presence, of even joy in the experience that hadn't been there before. He wasn't happy because the suffering had ended. He was happy because he had learned to dance with it. Months later, when spring arrived and new monks joined the monastery, Tenzin watched them struggle with the same challenges that had once tormented him. He saw their frustration, their resistance, their belief that something was wrong with their experience, and he understood his true calling. That evening, he approached Master Lobsang. I want to learn to teach this wisdom to others. The old master smiled. Ah, now you understand the final secret. The diamond once formed naturally wants to help other coal transform. This is how the wisdom spreads, not through preaching, but through living example. But Master, Tenzin asked, what do I tell someone drowning in financial problems, or someone whose marriage is falling apart, or someone battling depression? How do I explain that their suffering is actually a gift? Master Lobsang's expression grew serious. You never tell someone their suffering is a gift, young one. That would be cruel and naive. Instead, you share the truth, that within every form of pressure lies the potential for transformation. You teach them to ask different questions. He held up his weathered hands. Instead of why is this happening to me, which leads only to victimhood, they learn to ask how is this happening for me? Instead of how do I escape this pain, which leads to endless running, they ask what is this pain trying to teach me? Instead of when will this end, which puts life on hold, they ask how can I grow through this right now? Years passed. Tenzin became known throughout the region not as someone who had avoided suffering, but as someone who had learned to alchemize it into wisdom. People traveled from distant villages to understand his secret. He would share Master Lobsang's story and then add his own insight. The pressure you're feeling, whether it's financial stress, relationship conflict, health challenges, or emotional turmoil, is not evidence that something is wrong with your life. It's evidence that life is trying to upgrade you. But like coal becoming diamond, transformation only happens when you stop fighting the pressure and start cooperating with it. He would look into their eyes and say with complete conviction, right now in this very moment, whatever challenge is crushing your spirit contains the exact force needed to create your breakthrough. The bigger the pressure, the more magnificent the diamond trying to emerge. The teaching spread because it worked, People began reporting miraculous shifts, not because their external circumstances suddenly improved, but because their internal relationship to those circumstances transformed. Financial struggles became opportunities to develop resourcefulness and gratitude. Relationship conflicts became invitations to heal old wounds and communicate more authentically. Health challenges became catalysts for lifestyle changes that created vitality they'd never experienced. When Master Lobsang passed away at 93, Tenzin found a letter addressed to him. "My dear student, you have learned the greatest secret of human existence, that pressure and peace are not opposites, but dance partners. Now share this wisdom with a world that desperately needs to remember. Every problem is a diamond in disguise. Your diamond awaits." So here's my challenge to you, dear friend. For the next week, every time you feel pressure, whether it's a difficult conversation you need to have, a financial stress keeping you awake, or an emotional wound that won't heal, ask yourself this single question: how is this pressure trying to transform me into my highest version? Don't ask it once and expect magic. Ask it multiple times a day. Ask it with genuine curiosity. Ask it even when, especially when, you don't want to. What challenge in your life right now could actually be your greatest teacher in disguise? What pressure have you been fighting that might actually be the exact force needed to create your breakthrough? Share your insights in the comments below. Tell us about a time when something that felt like pure suffering actually became the catalyst for your growth. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Remember, you are not coal trying to stay comfortable. You are a diamond in the making, and the pressure you feel right now, it's not your punishment. It's your invitation to become everything you were meant to be. The question is not whether you'll face pressure in life. The question is, will you let it break you, or will you let it make you brilliant?